On today's episode, we're diving into the power of an abundant mindset where we celebrate others' victories, team up when we can, and trust that God's provision never runs out. Because when we live life from a place of abundance, collaboration doesn't take away from you, it multiplies your blessings. Last week we spoke about how to help others be seen, right? By encouraging them, by seeing their potential and hyping them up and being people's, their cheerleaders and, allowing people to do that for you too. But what happens is sometimes is that we get into a mindset of, if I maybe encourage that person or give that person a lot of kudos and lean into them and help them grow, they might go further than me. They might get all the things that I want for myself. So we might be hesitant to really pour into someone else, to help them see their potential, to help them be seen and supported, right? And what I want to really convey, what we want to convey in this episode is that there's more enough for everybody. God's economy is abundant. It is not scarce, right? And when we truly believe that there's enough for anybody, we are free to cheer others on, right? We just want to, we feel empowered to tell you, girl, guy, you got this, you could do this. Why? Because it's like, I know that what's gonna come for you, I'm gonna get too, right? I know God got me too. Everybody has their time, everybody has different levels, right? And everything is perfect for what God has for each every individual, and we're free to do that when we come from a mindset of there is enough for everyone, from a mindset of abundance. We just want the best for others genuinely and truly. And we don't mind being that aid for someone to get all that they've dreamed of, to become all that they've wanted. Because it's like, I know by me doing this for you, I'm doing it for myself, because positive energy feeds off of positive energy. So you're giving somebody that positive energy and support and encouragement, even if it's something that's exactly what you want, but you're giving that to somebody else, that energy is going to come right back to you, and when I was thinking about this episode, it made me think about something that just happened recently. I'm in a lot of mentorships, and these mentorships, there's mentees and people that are starting from day one in their business, right? They have a lot of questions. They don't know everything, and they just want to figure it out. So, they leave questions in these mentorships, like in the school community or, whatever platform it's on. And I have over 2 years in my business, in my funding company, and, removing, inquiries and stuff like that. So I know a thing or two. I've spent countless hours, made a lot of mistakes, spent a lot of money on coaches to get me to where I'm at today. And there was a point where I'm like, I see people asking questions in the groups, and I'm like, Adi, you have like 90% of these people's answers to their questions. Why don't you just be that person to give them the answers, and they can be successful? And I'm like, and this is what happened. Scarcity kicked in. First of all, that's not my group. I'm not getting paid to teach these people. I know I'm not going to do that. 2, I was like, well, I haven't hit my goal monthly revenue, right? My goal monthly revenue is to hit 6-figure months, right? Right now, I'm at 5-figure months, which is beautiful, amazing, but my goal is to hit 6-figure months, right? So I'm like, I'm not at my goal. Why am I going to feed into someone else that's not even my mentorship, right? And just give people the answers. And I told my best friend of all this recently, and I was like, I feel like I have these people's answers, and I sometimes feel bad because like I could answer their questions and get them moving further along in their funding companies. And she told me something that like was a rude awakening for me, that I was like, wow, that's so true. She was like, do you know that when you feed into someone else and you give them the answers, you are helping yourself grow and get answers from others, because what you give out, you're going to get in return. She said, God gave you these gifts to be resourceful, to figure it out. And you've gotten so far along in your journey because people have came in, helped you, answered your questions, whether you paid for it or not. God allowed for you to be where you're at now, You need to give of your resources, give of your information, of your skills. And when you do that freely from a place of abundance, you know that that's going to come back to you some shape, way, or form, you know? And I'm like, damn, you're right. This is about abundance. I'm thinking scarcity. I don't want everybody to have all this information that I know, because then everybody's going to run off and do exactly what I'm doing. And then things might mess up for me because not everybody, is running the plays. And I don't want everybody to run the plays, And, she helped me shift my mindset to an abundance mindset. And I was like, damn, in this situation, like I am withholding information. I am withholding skills. I am withholding resources that can liberate someone to go further along in their journey. And I can do that for them. Why not do it? Even if there's nothing in it for me in that moment, I am being a good steward, right? I am helping someone else. I am leading someone into, their next big breakthrough in their business, because clearly they're asking a question, they feel stuck, so I can help them get unstuck and help them propel. And I was like, wow, you're right. So recently somebody asked a question, and, at first I was like, do I want to answer it? And I thought about what Lavelle said, abundance, it's okay. Just give of your resources and more will be returned to you. And, that's being, a steward of God and being helpful. And I did. And I felt so good, right? It shifted something within me. You know what I mean? That we don't have to live in a mindset of, they're going to take what I have and my information and how I do things. And, I worked hard for this and I spent all this money. It just cleared the way for me to be like, here you go. Like, I'm grateful. I'm glad that I went through what I've went through and I've learned what I've learned, because now I can freely and easily give you this information that is going to help you structure things differently. That's going to help you, treat things differently in your business so that you can do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And excel at it, and it felt good. And now I'm doing that more and more because there is enough for everybody to go around, And the more I help and the more people see, wow, Adi's, answering our questions and she's giving good information, that's just going to help me be an authoritative figure in my industry, because it's like, Adi knows her stuff, So I went from this, very closed, small-minded thinking to this abundant thinking that, that is centered in God and in my faith and in what's right. And it feels good. It's not just something I'm doing because, I know God is going to reward me. It's something that I'm doing because it is the right thing to do, right? It is, the Christ-like thing to do. And I don't know, I feel good. And I think that that's important, because a lot of us fall into the trap of, I'm not going to, give you the answers. I'm not going to help you get where you need to go, because you might get there faster than me. You might get everything that I've wanted and you go and figure it out your stuff like I had to do, and that's just ego. And that's fear. And that's, you comparing yourself and being in competition. And, competition often stems from fear, and insecurity. The lie that someone else's success diminishes ours. There is nobody's success that's going to diminish mine. There is nobody's success out there that is going to diminish yours, because your path, your plan, your way to go in your life is where God is taking you. And doesn't matter what they're doing. You just continue to be of servant. You continue to give of your resources, and what God has given you, release that into the world and help someone else get to what they're need to get. And that's going to help, if anything, propel your success, not diminish it, because you're releasing this energy of abundance when you're releasing of your information, of your resources, of your knowledge, of the skills. That is, an energy that you're putting out that you are going to receive back in some shape, or way, or form. Everything that you put out will become multiplied back to you. That's just law. That is something that I've seen numerous times in my life. I give, $50, I get back 150. Like, I give out $500, I'm getting back 1,500. And I don't give it out because I know that it's going to come back triple to me. It's just a feeling that I get when I'm doing it, knowing that I'm being of service, knowing that I'm giving of a resource that God gave me, God gave me the intellect. He gave me, the money. He gave me this information. He's brought people, places, and things into my life to help me get to where I'm at. God did that. you know? So when I release it out and I give it this beautiful energy of here you go, like I want to do this for you, like I want to make you feel good, I want to feel you, I want to see you win, you're gonna win. There's just no way that you're not. In time, you're going to see more wins coming your way, more opportunities coming your way, more people coming to help you and be like, girl, you don't got to pay me. I got you. Don't worry. What do you need? And these are things that are just going to happen naturally. You're not going to go looking for it and say, oh, I did that. Where is my time? Where is the people coming to help me? Because look at everything I did. No, your time will come. You leave that up to God. You just keep being a person of service and an abundance energy mindset person. And, your success will come. It's just inevitable.
I think what you're sharing is so spot on. And I would even extend it to say that when it comes to abundance, it applies not only to financial situations, but it applies to every aspect of your life. I strongly believe the experiences that we go through are not always just for us. Sometimes the experiences we go through are for others. And we don't know where that's going to happen. We don't know where those paths are going to cross. And if we're constantly coming from a place of everything I'm going through, or life is not happening to me, but life is happening for me, and through it happening for me, it's allowing me to have an impact on others. It to me, when I say that, I get this beautiful feeling like the things we're doing is so much bigger than us. It's more than a competition or this. It's about collaboration. It's about us coming together. It's about us helping and supporting each other.
On today's episode, we're going to be discussing something that sits heavy on so many hearts: discovering your purpose. Have you ever asked yourself, God, why am I here? What's my assignment? Or felt frustrated after trying different things that still doesn't feel like home for you, like you haven't found that one thing? If that is you, then this episode was designed for you. How do I know that I'm aligned, that I'm doing what God is asking me to do? And that is a question that I know a lot of people struggle with. What am I here for? What's my assignment? And that's okay. It's okay to have those thoughts. It's okay to have those questions. It's okay to have those concerns, because I'm sure 99.9% of the humans on this planet Earth at some point or another struggled with those thoughts, had those thoughts, or having those thoughts. And I know I did. I know, you, Antoine, have those thoughts yourself. It's totally normal. The whole purpose here is to know that God reveals things to us over time. And he's going to reveal things, his time, and it's going to be through him. It's not going to be through our ego. It's not going to be through our own understanding, and there's a process to that. And, purpose, what I realize is that it's rarely ever a straight line. Sometimes it feels messy. You try something and you fall, and you try something else and you're frustrated. Like, when is it going to stick? When am I going to finally find that thing that makes me feel like home, that brings me joy, that makes others happy, like that I'm contributing to society? Like, what am I doing? But the truth is that purpose is revealed in the process. It's not in just, in one specific area, in one specific thing, on one specific day. You know what I mean? Like, we can't call it. We can say, oh, on this day and this time and this year, that's when I'm going to discover my purpose, because I have planned and I have done and I have taken so much action that by that time, I'm going to know. Because no. Your process is revealed in the process. And you don't know when that's going to happen, because, it's through God. And God is not going to give us the full picture of our lives right away. He isn't going to give that to us. He's going to give us glimpses, and he's going to reveal things to us in layers, in his time, and I choose to believe that it's when our hearts are ready to receive what God has for us and the calling that God has for us that we receive it. It's in that timing. Because can you imagine if, God tells you your purpose and gives you, this work to do in this lifetime, and you're not ready for it, that you're just like, I don't get that. No, like, I don't want that. I rebuke that. I refuse that. That's too much. God, I'm not equipped for that. So there's certain things that takes place in his time and his journey and its moments where God knows, I'm going to fit this in here, and I'm going to tell this person this in this time, because they're ready. They're going to be amenable to this and they're going to do something with it. It is going to change them, right? It's going to change something inside of you once you find out what it is that you're meant to do when you're tuning into God, you know? And when you do find out what you're meant to do, one of the things that I want you guys to know is that it is always going to be about others and someone else and helping someone else and impacting someone else. It is never going to be about you, you know? And if you think that you're on a path and it's like, oh, God called me on this path and it's only about you, what you're getting out of it, what you're feeling, and it's not impacting someone else and helping someone else and uplifting someone else, it's most likely not it. You know, your purpose will light you up. It will bring you joy. You will feel confident. You will feel good doing it, but it's also going to be designed for helping others. So, you know, it's kind of like that balance where it's like, okay, yes, it's filling me up and it's doing something for me, but how is it impacting others? And once you have that balance and you have that formula, then you're like, you can really cement yourself in knowing, okay, I'm doing something correctly. I'm in alignment. You know, this is the purpose that God has for me, and this is the impact that I'm meant to have. You know, when you're noticing that you're having an impact on those around you, as well as having that joy and that fulfillment within yourself. Okay. And there's things that we can notice when we are in our purpose, when we're finding out what's our purpose, right? There's things that you're going to start noticing. And I will say the first thing is that I want you guys to realize that your purpose, first and foremost, is rooted in God. It's rooted in your identity in God and knowing who you are and who you belong to, because that connection of you and God and that identity of who He is what's going to open you up to be amenable to receive the gifts, to receive the words, to receive the conviction that you can do it when the time comes. You know, so that is first and foremost. But there are signs that you can tell when you're like doing something that you're meant to be doing and that you're purposing. And it's, what are some of the things that you know when you're doing it, it makes you come alive, right? When you feel fully yourself, right? The second thing, what are the gifts that comes to you naturally that you do even when nobody's applauding for you, when nobody's clapping for you, when nobody's praising you? These are things that you're doing when nobody is around. It's just you. It comes out of you. You want to do it genuinely and truly for others, you know? Not because, oh yeah, I know my mom's watching, I know my husband is watching, I know my friends watching, I know my boss is watching, so let me do this because I know I'm good at it, I got a knack for it, and I'm gonna get the kudos. No, you know, there's no ego when it comes to your purpose, right? Because it's all for God, serving Him, and He's working through us. So if you feel any of that, you know what I mean, give it to God and ask Him, is this what you want me to be doing? You know? And those gifts in some shape or form, big or small, is 100% going to have impact on others. Even if it's just one person, that gift that you have, you know that you are in your purpose when it's blessing others, when it's growing others, when it's helping someone else, where it's helping shift someone else, when it's helping shift the trajectory of that person's life, where you're doing something and you're like, I am really being helpful. And it doesn't matter if it's something small or it's something big, you know? But these are kind of the things that you can start recognizing when you're like, okay, I am in my purpose and I'm doing what God is calling me to do, or ways that you can start noticing that this is it, you know? And again, does it make you come alive? Are you doing it when nobody's clapping for you? You're doing it just because you know, behind closed doors, this is just what comes naturally out of you. And is it helping someone else in a small or big way, right? I want you to know that that is alignment, right? That is God's fingerprint on your life when you are doing these things and you are discovering what you're meant to do. Does that make sense, Antoine? Because I'm like, I'm about to, you know, keep going and get into, you know, a story.
Yeah, no, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I'm excited about this because I think purpose has been a journey for my life for so long, where I know in my heart what my purpose is. Like, you have a knowing. It
Mm-hmm.
really is. It's a knowing. you, without a shadow of a doubt, if you spent some time just thinking in this moment about like what is, like, I think those are great points. Like, what's
Yeah.
something that comes to you naturally? Like, you know what your purpose is. I think the challenge becomes that ego and purpose battle against each other. And for me, that's been my experience. When I really think about my purpose is when I'm doing something that I'm unhappy. Like if I'm in a place in my life where I feel unhappy or I feel like things aren't moving in the way that I expect them to be moving, I start to question my purpose. Like, God, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? Why am I experiencing this thing? Or why am I doing this activity? It doesn't seem to be easy. It seems to be something that's very frictionless. I feel tired. I feel exhausted. It's not something I enjoy. And then I start to think, like, am I even doing my purpose? And then I start to think, God, am I even in my purpose? And if you're feeling that, I think what's important and what you showed is that's a place of opportunity where God's planting seeds. Like he's trying to get you to course correct. There's something you're doing where you're going down the wrong path. And that was exactly what your story showed, is as you were kind of, after you did your search and you didn't find exactly what you want, you kind of took a different direction and you went in a different place. And then once you got that place, you was like, this sucks. Like it was fun in the moment, but I still have this burning passion inside of me that I'm meant for something more. And I want to figure out where that's at. And I want to get there. And God, I'm coming to you for help to help me get there. And it's at that moment that things, I feel, shift and change, because you start to surrender this feeling of needing to take control. You start to surrender this feeling of ego, like I was mentioning before, or you start to lean in and have more faith in what God has called you to do. And so if you're in that place, I encourage you, like, please, please, please don't give up on the journey. Don't give up on what God has called you to do. You know it. Anyone on this podcast that's listening, you know in your heart what God has called you to do, because I know it. It's like I'm meant to be working with people. I'm meant to be speaking with people. I'm meant to be a part of people's lives and their growth and their development. It's something I've always done. It's just natural. Friends come to me. I talk to people all the time about this stuff. And so I know that's the place I need to be. My challenge is that I end up blocking myself from getting there because of my expectations, which kind of gets to my kind of next big thing. And I won't belabor on this because I know we got to get through the rest of this podcast, but I encourage you, don't allow your expectations to steal the joy from your purpose. Every one of us has a purpose and we know what it is, but sometimes our expectations in terms of how the purpose will manifest in our lives, how the purpose will come about, how will we be doing this, we allow that to be the thing that stops us from moving forward. But like Ariana was saying at the beginning, God's only going to show us a little bit at a time. So even in your mind, if you feel like, oh, I've got the whole picture painted out, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing, if God hasn't shown you that yet, that's just what you are kind of manifesting in yourself. It's great, have manifestations, but you need to continue to seek God's guidance, because truly
Mm.
your purpose may start with you in the position you're in right now. Purpose
Yeah.
doesn't mean tomorrow I'm going to quit my full-time job and I'm about to be an entrepreneur. No, maybe that skill that you have that you're great at, God wants you to first use that skill in the place you're in. And that's why you are where you are, is because God wants to see
Mm-hmm.
your obedience with what he's calling you to do with the small things. And so I say all that because I think, purpose is, there's so much we can talk about with purpose. But what I took from your story is it's at that moment of where you start to feel pain, frustration, exhaustion, you don't feel like you're moving forward, that's God knocking at you saying, hey, now's the time to come back to what I've called you to do. And it's up to us to take that next step.
I just want to say that, encourage somebody, that it's not because he gave me the vision or when he gives you the vision that you're just going to be perfect, but it's in the step-by-step process that you have with him. It's in the daily actions, in the daily lessons, in the daily learnings, that you just become different, that you're like, I don't want to do that no more. One day you're going to wake up and say, I don't want to drink anymore. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to look at the person you're with and it's like, I thought you were my person, but you're not. You're going to look at your friends and you're just not going to feel the same towards them. You're going to set boundaries with people in your life because you're just like, this is not what God wants for me anymore. And it happens gradually. Again, your purpose is going to come from the process, and while you're in the process, things are going to shift and move. You're going to have different convictions. You're going to just do certain things because you know that they are right, because you know that God put that in you and you're like, this is the next best thing, the next right thing. And it's like that. And you're going to inch towards it. There's no time frame. Everything is in God's time. What might seem fast to you, what might seem long to you, it's not it for God. What might seem like, wow, you know, God, this is taking decades, to God is a second. And the reason is that you needed that decade, those decades, to get prepared for what God
Right.
had for you. And God is not going to give it to you when he knows you're not equipped. You know what I mean? He's going to prepare you and equip you and get you there, you know? So all is well. All is well for each and every one of us that are in a path and in our journey with God and trying to find our purpose. And you know, I want to leave you guys with something that you guys could do, you know what I mean? So we're, you know, we're doing this thing where we challenge you to do something every week. And I really do believe that if you guys implement this challenge and this homework and do something with it, that, you know, you'll get closer to finding out what you're meant to do. So one of the first things that I want you to do is I like to call the joy test. So you're gonna ask yourself, what's one thing that I could do for hours and lose track of time?
Mm.
If it fills you up and help others, it's pointing you towards purpose. 2, the gift inventory. I want you to write down the things that people always thank you for or ask you for help with. Sometimes others notice your calling before you do. So be mindful of that. And then I want you to say this prayer, and it's the alignment prayer. God, align my gifts with your plan. Show me opportunities to use what you've given me to serve others.